didn't know what I was then.
Way over.
I thought I'd do a bit of a for old time's sake. I've got like a glow. Because even though this is saying it's sunny, it's lying. It's very cold outside. I'm freezing! I'm very angry about the cold.
Anyway,
as you can tell,
what we're going to do is we've decided
we're home.
we're at home, and we wanted to do a wrap-up video really, because it just kind of ended on, you know, the last one with the Petronas Towers and stuff. So what I thought would be really cool is if we use ChatGPT to ask us a big bunch of questions about each of the places we stayed. We've not seen the questions, so we don't know what we're going to get, and then we'll do our best to answer them, and then hopefully, if we've got footage, we might sort of nick bits from our footage and place it over the top whilst me and Tora just yabbering on. So let's give this
Being crabs,
a go.
apparently.
If we're not looking at the camera, it means we're reading what's on screen. So let's have a go. So, Georgetown, Penang.
What was your first impression when you arrived in Georgetown? Absolutely mental.
Yeah, my first impression was, oh my God, what have we done? Where are we?
That kind of says it all, really. It's nuts, absolutely nuts. I genuinely thought, yeah, what have we done? We've been here too long, or we're going to be here too long.
The culture, the traffic, the shock.
The food.
It just felt overwhelmed. I mean, that wasn't my impression when I left Georgetown. I actually left feeling really good, really enjoyed it, but my first impression was, oh shit.
Bit crazy.
Right, question number 2. What piece of street art really stuck with you and why? So it has to be the sort of graffiti style street art that was everywhere. And I think for me, cliche as it is, it has to be the bike. And I think the reason I'm picking the bike is that's the one you see on Instagram, that's the one you see on YouTube. So when I saw it, it was a bit like, oh wow, it really does look like this. There's just street art dotted.
So this is my reflection phase. We're actually just giving it a little bit of thought. So there's a couple of pieces for me. Yes, this is me. I need like a light bulb moment. Anyway, initially it's the umbrella avenue, which I loved because when the colours pop down that street, it's really, really cool. But if I were talking actual street art, for me, I think it's got to be the motorbike. The motorbike, so there's a motorbike that's actually been left there, and apparently the story goes, I'm not sure whether it's true or not, it was actually left there by a guy who biked from Vietnam all the way to Penang, and when he got there, he just left the bike there. I kind of like the fact that that might be true.
I hope that's true.
I do, so I like that one.
Yeah, you've convinced me to like that.
Thanks.
Anyway, question number 3 then. Still in Georgetown, describe a moment you felt completely immersed in local culture.
Oh my God.
I'll start.
I want to see if it's going to be the same one.
3, 2, 1. That festival. Oh! So Tor picked Tendons, which I'll let talk about in a minute. Mine was this festival. So when we arrived, we were in the middle of the world's largest Hindu festival called... can't remember. But I'll put it here. And yeah, it was the busiest thing ever. So 1.5 million Hindus descending on this one city, which made it even more overwhelming. But it was at that moment that I realised I was in full Malayan culture.
Crazy.
So that's it for me.
So for me, it's definitely the food. It's got to be the food, but the particular moment for me that I remember is the food, yeah. But that bowl of stew with tendons in it, it was that moment she knew. Tendons. I don't ever want to eat tendons ever again in my entire life. The thought of it just makes me feel queasy, so definitely that.
Okay. What was the most unexpectedly amazing dish you ate in Penang?
Definitely not tendon soup.
I'll tell you what, I don't know about a dish yet, but I'll tell you what I really enjoyed. A little cafe called Black Kettle, was it? Or Black Cat or something?
Black Kettle, yes.
Yeah, and it felt like a Waterstones in like the sort of late 90s. It had books, it had that coffee smell. It was just aircon, really chilled out, and obviously it had amazing like frappes and those kind of things, and that was really nice. And I think the reason that sticks in my mind, it was so hot and sweaty outside and so overwhelming. That was like a little moment of peace and clarity. For my most simple dish was the first night when I had that Thai green curry at that really weird little Thai green place. So much so I went a couple of times.
You see, for me it wasn't. There's a couple of things that proper stand out for me. The first one was the first breakfast place that we went, they did the traditional steamed bread and the kaya and toast, which is their signature jam, I guess, in Malaysia, and I loved it. And the standout thing for me the most in Georgetown in terms of foods / drink, if I'm cheating,
Go on.
it's got to be the coffee. Every single coffee I had in Georgetown was just absolutely amazing. And different copios and chams and things like that. But yeah, really good coffee.
One dish I've never got over, and I'm amazed by the price, not what it was.
Tendons?
No, Burger King. Just for the
God,
simple
yeah.
cost. I mean, we've mentioned it on a few of the videos, but I think we all ate a meal for £7. Not £7 each, like £7 for all four of us at Burger King. I'm still amazed by that.
Yeah,
So,
I'll go with that.
although it's not an amazing dish that I'm supposed to answer the question with, but for price, wow. Right. Did you have a tourist film moment? Did something that totally didn't go to plan? Well, tendons was one.
Oh God, yeah.
I think walking around aimlessly and not, because it was so busy to get grads, we just walked around. So there were a lot of fails then in terms of
We couldn't get any
distance.
sort of form of transportation because it was too busy so we were left having to walk, and it got quite frustrating, especially in the heat and the pollution. In the congested areas at the city centre.
We had some little things where we set off for places that were no longer there. So on
all
Google
the
Maps,
time.
this little bar looks nice, or this little food
Ice
court.
cream place. Oh, yeah, that
we'd
one.
hike miles to go to it, and then it just wouldn't be there. It shut down like years ago, but Google hadn't been updated. And that happened to us with an ice cream parlour. We set off on a massive walk to find ice cream, couldn't find it. Put another thing in Google, couldn't find it. Went somewhere else, shut down. Went to this last place, which was, hyped as like, wow, ice cream. Walked in 33-degree heat for about 6 miles to get there, and it was closed that day.
It was so quite annoying. So yeah, we had a lot of those failing moments, but that were all mainly down to Google.
Yeah, I don't think there were tourist fails. We've had more tourist fails in other locations, like the hot springs and everything else. But I think in Georgetown, I don't think we had a real tourist fail moment.
No, we didn't. It was good.
What's a conversation you had with a local that you'll never forget?
Oh, you see, for me, I would say she was local. So there was a lady that actually owned this cafe that we went to called Din's.
Yeah, Din's.
She was lovely. She had a really beautiful cafe. She came across as a really elegant, well put together lady, wasn't she? Very well dressed. She was very well spoken. Her English was impeccable. But she actually originally came from Hong Kong. She was a business lady in Hong Kong, and she gave it all up and to open her own little food cafe because her passion was food. But yeah, she told the story of wanting to open a boutique place and then extend it. But she had a beautiful sort of really colonial British inspired cafe, and it was just lovely, wasn't it?
Yeah, and she's trying to save up enough money to renovate the upstairs to turn it into a boutique hotel.
So that was really nice. I did like that.
Yeah, I'll go with that. If you had 24 hours in Georgetown again, what would your ideal day look like?
Ooh.
This is tricky because we've already been, so there's a lot of stuff that you probably wouldn't do. But if I had to pick my highlights to squeeze into a day, I obviously really like the temple. That goes without saying.
Keklock City, amazing.
And up the mountain, the
Penang Gardens, Penang Hill, yes.
Penang Hill, and I think probably the top.
You see, for me, it's slightly different. Definitely Penang and the temple, but Georgetown itself is massively old colonial British, and it's on every corner. You can't not look at everything that's around there. So not just the street art, but the buildings and the history that's clearly there. And it's so fascinating to look at and look around. I would absolutely do that all over again. And I'm sure there's loads that we missed out. So yeah, that would.
Bit of a cultured answer, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's true.
I'll get up, I'll go to Burger King, I'll go to a museum, and then, I'll go.
See, for me, I'd wander the streets and enjoy the history and the culture.
So 24 hours then, I would
Peasant.
Go down, look at the street art again, because I think you'd have to. Definitely go up Penang Hill, definitely go check out that temple, and then, if I had time, I would...
Have some tendon soup.
I'd go to Burger King. No, that's kind of some of the things that I'd sort of relive again. Some of the things I wouldn't do again is obviously...
That's not what he's asked you.
Okay, I'll shut up. Carry on.
Yeah, stop talking.
Was there a hidden gem that most tourists miss?
Considering we spent 2 weeks there, we did everything touristy, I think.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about hidden gems. Yeah, I'll tell you a hidden gem if you don't know this. It's your 7-Elevens and your slushies, isn't it? No, it wasn't. It was our bakery thing underneath our hotel.
Oh gosh,
Yeah,
yes.
Love
What
a
was
Loaf.
it called? Would it Love a Loaf?
Yeah.
Love a History? I
Love
can
a
never
Loaf. No,
remember.
it was Bread History and that was Love a Loaf. So, although it's not a tourist thing, but underneath our hotel we had this amazing bakery and it kind of saved us when we just wanted a little
Absolutely.
bit of Western goodness. So, breads,
There
little...
was some really good, cheap, on-the-go lunch as well, and it was pence. It was absolutely nothing. Could get it for breakfast or for lunch, so absolutely that place.
I don't think there's anything that tourists would miss because everything's so kind of well advertised and known. So yeah, I'd probably say that as my
I'd say
hidden gem.
if you wanted a hidden gem as an English person, you wanted a toaster, I can tell you where to go.
Yeah, you could do that.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I think just another thing as well. I think the top Penang, a lot of people probably won't go there because well, what's this? It's got plastic dinosaurs and stuff. But you know what? It was really good.
A lot of the stuff you can sort of, it's a bit hit and miss, but the main thing that you would go to there, which is the top, the glass floor, the rainbow walk, etc., that bit right at the top, funnily enough, is fantastic. It's so worth it, and I think it was about 20 quid. All the extra stuff that you can do there are just extras. You don't have to do it, but it's really good value for money.
I think tourists would miss it because they'd be so focused on the cultural, going, oh, we need to see the street art. I'm not going up that nonsense Blackpool Tower type building.
Yeah.
So I would say that's kind
But
of...
it was such a great experience, wasn't it?
It's not a hidden gem, but it is definitely a gem that I wasn't expecting.
It was better than we thought, yeah.
How did Georgetown challenge your expectations? Haha, I'll go. On Instagram and everything, you see it as this chilled. It almost comes across like Chiang Mai. It's all laid back. Everyone's like, oh, there's coffee shops.
It comes across as a really quaint little town.
Because people only show you the quaint little bits. Like, look, the little upside down museum and go to the Blue House and look, wander around the streets and have coffee. It's not like that.
It's not like
at
that.
all. It is the busiest, most bustling thing I've ever been to.
It's a massive
I'd say it was on a par with Kuala Lumpur. A lot of Malaysians are like, oh, Kuala Lumpur's crazy, but Georgetown on a different level.
It's a massive culture shock because we actually went expecting it to be a little quaint town, and it genuinely isn't. It's a massive city, and you're just not expecting it, so...
You can't escape the noise and the hustle and bustle.
No, it's mad.
So that challenged our expectations. All right, Langkawi time.
So now we're on to Langkawi.
How did Langkawi's vibe compare to other places you visited?
Oh, big heart, or everyone will be really upset that I'm doing this, but Langkawi, my god, what a place. It's got everything. So in terms of how it compared to other places we visited,
well, describe its vibe first in 3 words. Laid back, cheap as chips, that's 3 words. Laid back, cheap, and gorgeous.
It's stunning. We're just going to say stunning. It's just stunning.
So our hotel guy, who we named Mr. Chew,
we didn't name him Mr. Chew.
He was so laid back. He was like one of those karate master guys.
Like Mr. Miyagi.
Arm behind his back, just wise, like whatever. He's
being slightly racist to you, but sure, we'll go with it.
Can I have a scooter? Yeah, take one of my scooters. Take 2. Okay, and I try to give him the keys back. He's like, take it for as long as you want.
He took no details whatsoever. Didn't even look at our driving licence. He's just like, it's fine.
He just set the tone, and the Malayan people in Langkawi are so. I don't know, laid back and chill. I mean, went to this cafe and called Halfway Hut. We had breakfast most days, and the whole vibe was just laid back and just chilled and awesome. Really, I just loved it.
Everything about it was just great. Yeah. So how did it compare in terms of vibe? It was just chilled out, stunning and chilled out, on all accounts.
Langkawi again. What was your most cinematic moment on the island?
Cable cars,
jet skis and drones.
Cinematic.
Yeah. Come on, I looked like an action star on that drone footage. But yeah,
I think that's open to you.
Cable cars for you, and then
most cinematic moment, 100% has to be those cable cars. Do you know what? It's one of those things that you see a bit like Georgetown. You see it, and it absolutely lives up to the hype and beyond. It's exactly as it looks, but the way that it makes you feel when you're there is just like nothing I've ever known. Really, it's just amazing, absolutely amazing.
I'm still going for me on jet skis.
That's because you're just an egotistical pig. Anyway, but yes, that.
What's the best beach you found and what made it special?
Do you know what? There's two main beaches that we obviously went to in Langkawi. So there's the main one, which is Chenang Beach, which is the one that everybody on the island goes. So you've got to remember, Langkawi is not actually a big island at all. You can literally get from all sides in a hut.
What made that special?
What?
That beach.
Well, shut up. So Chenang Beach is special just because it's quite amazing. It's really big. There's lots to do. There's bars, etc., etc. But for me personally, it was ours, which was Talanga Beach.
Yeah.
So our local one, which was a 2-minute walk, and it had the most incredible sunsets, and it didn't have all the hustle and bustle and busyness of the water spots, etc. You could just walk down. We took our picnic blanket down there, didn't we, and watched some sunsets.
You're right, that's what made that one special.
So
Just
that
it
one.
kind of off the beaten. It's a beach that people don't go to because
That's why I was sort of saying about Chenang Beach. You would expect it to be that one.
You can't compete with Chenang Beach with the water sports and the bars and everything. And ours didn't have all that. I had one little tiny little bar, and a little fish restaurant, and the rest were just sand.
It was just
lovely.
beautiful.
They are building all around it and hotels. It's not going to be special for long. So if you do get to go check it out. Sunrise and sunset. It was just all nice, lovely walk on there in the morning.
Beautiful.
Next question. Did you face any fears in Langkawi?
Heights,
jungle treks and
wildlife.
Yes, and yes. So heights, the cable car, the highest thing I think I've been in.
Yeah, and the glass floor. So that was another thing. So that glass, the eagle's nest up there. Just wow.
Jungle treks, not really, not in Langkawi. It wasn't a fear. I mean, a leaf blower guy did follow me around a lot on the waterfalls things, and
guys, let it go.
I have an irrational fear of leaf blowers. And then the wildlife. No, I don't think we encountered any scary wildlife. So
again, it was just chilled out. Yeah. That's it. We just chilled.
What was your wow moment here, where you just stopped and took it all in?
That is hard. Oh, I know. Pregnant maiden. See, for me, it was at Freshwater Lake when we did the jet skis for Talia's birthday. And when we went through the walkway and it opened up into the, I'll do a picture obviously, into the freshwater part. Wow, it was just absolutely stunning. Breathtaking. We even said it compared to that moment when we went to
It did.
the beach in PP Island.
See, I was going to say like the waterfalls and stuff, but we've seen big waterfalls like that, so it's not as wow. But yeah, I'd say that it was because it was hidden. It was like, wow, this is secret.
It was just you could only get to it on a jet ski.
You kind of imagine some old explorer before everyone found it, and he stumbled across it and went, oh my god.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, I think that Batu Caves in Thingy was a wow moment, but we're talking about Langkawi, so I can't have that.
Well done. Yeah.
Tell us about a funny or awkward experience while island hopping or exploring nature. Well, I won't tell you. I'm stealing this one. This isn't island hopping or exploring nature. This is the sushi. It was the most awkward experience I've ever had in my life. So we drove off to find a sushi place on the motorbikes, and it took about an hour to get there. When we got there, it was wanging it down. And we're at this house, and like, Google's gone wrong again. It's taken us to someone's house. Anyway, this was the sushi place. So she comes out, she's like, come in. And she takes us into her like front room, and there's cats jumping around everywhere. And she was making sushi there.
Sat next to a step ladder.
It was just so awkward, but because her aircon had broken, she wasn't able to make sushi. So she had 4 little old manky pieces that we had to eat. And then this other group of people around, they wanted sushi. So we kind of all had to share it. The whole thing was awkward and cringy.
And it took about an hour of my life.
I just wanted to get out of there.
But what an experience. Yeah. What an experience. I'll never forget it. It were quite something, but absolutely an awkward moment. Is that your
most awkward moment?
I'll go with that. I totally forgot about that.
I don't think I'll ever forget about that. What kind of traveller does Langkawi suit?
Anyone.
I'd say nomads, digital nomads. I'd
adventurers,
say your student traveller types who like backpacks and those kind of things.
Anyone. It literally suits anybody.
Our hotel guy said, there's no crime on the island, and you know what? It's the safest I've ever felt anywhere.
It was just
I feel
so
like
nice.
If you could leave your door open and leave your wallet and nobody'd nick it, it just felt so safe.
Yeah, it did.
So yeah, anyone.
So it really does suit anybody.
If Langkawi was a person, how would you describe its personality?
We keep saying it, don't we?
Zen.
Zen, yeah.
Chilled. Just chilled. All of it's just chilled.
Don't know what that is.
Or cheap. Or both. Chill cheap. What kind of food or drink will always remind you of this place? So for me, I think what will remind me, God, there's so many. But I think going to that bar on a night round the corner. I was going to say the breakfast stuff because we always ordered a C12 or a set C.
It's got to be the halfway hut for breakfast. But in terms of drink, it's just got to be the overall price of alcohol. Yeah. In case you didn't know, Langkawi is actually a duty-free island, so the alcohol is stupidly cheap on this island.
When we went to the little bar thing next door to where we were staying,
Red Sky,
it just had like a live band. It had a guy on his guitar.
They got it just right, didn't they? The balance.
Pictures of beers and stuff like that, and then just really nice food. If I think of food, that's where I go. Even though it's not Malayan food, it's not. You know, we did do the street markets. You know, we did that street market
Fisherman's
where we had all this weird food, didn't we? We had loads of weird food. Do you remember that market that we drove to on the bikes? And we had meat on a stick.
Yes.
So we've had all the foods, and we've done the street markets with all stuff, the big drinks and all that stuff. But yeah, weirdly for me, it was that. And I think because of its Western influence, I kind of crave a bit of that when I'm away. I try and be all cultured and do both, but you know, you like what you like.
Well, it feels homely. That's what it is. It just feels like home.
Would you go back, and if so, what would you do differently?
100% go back.
Stay for longer.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily do anything differently. It was just needing more time. Oh, I would do something differently. I wouldn't go at the time of year that we went, because we went at the start of Ramadan and loads of things closed or closed early, which kind of spoiled it a little bit, just because when you wanted to sort of go out and experience something, you just see the things on the door that just said we closed until the end of March.
Yeah,
you're like,
shut
really?
a lot of it down.
So yeah, if I were going to do it again, which I would, I'd do that differently. I'd just choose a different time.
I think if I were to go back and do it again, so it's different to telling somebody else to go and go do it and what you need to do this, do that. But because now I've hit a lot of the big items, like I've done the cable cars, I probably won't need to do them again, or not in a hurry.
No.
I would probably just take more time to enjoy it, its pace, and appreciate the cost of it all and how laid back it is, and probably just spend more time doing less actually a second time round, instead of trying to cram loads of stuff in.
So you're getting into the Zen spirit?
I'm all Zen, I'm all Langkawi up. Right, now we're going to move on to Kota
Kinabalu. So on to Borneo, Sabah, whichever one you want. So what brought you to Kota Kinabalu in the first place? Well, it's got to be the wildlife, hasn't it?
Yeah, the whole point of going there really was for the wildlife and the trips up the river and those kind of things.
Yep, so that's why we went.
That's what brought us there.
And otherwise you wouldn't go. If you didn't go to Malaysia, you wouldn't go otherwise.
What was your most powerful memory in nature while here?
It's got to be the river cruise. It's got to be the river cruise, definitely.
What single memory from that river cruise? Elephants, maybe?
No, you see... Do you know what? It were probably the hornbills. When we saw the main hornbills at the end, or the one that were just in the tree. Do you remember? We saw him pick a berry off a tree and he gulped it down.
I think just the whole going up and down the river and looking for new stuff, you realise that it's untouched and that is proper nature. Like, if you stepped outside of that boat, you would have been eaten. You know, that wasn't, you know, it was as real as you're going to get, you know, and that's the thing. And
well, it's as wild as you're going to get. It's nature at its best, at its rawest, and you're not going to get that anywhere else. So
and we saw the big five. So yeah, my powerful memory is seeing the big five. You go thinking, oh, I might be lucky, I might see a croc, or we saw everything.
Yeah.
So really,
and I did like the. Do you remember the big group of proboscis monkeys when they were jumping around in the trees? It was just, and the noise is great. Yeah.
How did Sabah's culture feel different from other parts of Malaysia?
Sabah for me really surprised me, and if I'm being perfectly honest, probably not in a good way. On the whole, I didn't expect Kota Kinabalu or Sabah to be like it was, and again, it was like Georgetown. It's a huge city,
I think
massive city.
Instagram and stuff makes it look like it's all trees and rivers, and really, you know, you expect to be quite laid back, quite slow and quite nature, but it's not. It's a concrete jungle, really.
Yeah.
It's high rises in the city, it's malls, all those other things.
Yeah.
And it felt not intimidating. It didn't feel safe, but it was such a far cry from Langkawi.
Yes.
And I think that was what.
One of the biggest things that I struggled with, in terms of culture, is the religious side of it. In Sabah, it's particularly strong, isn't it? So, you know, the mosques are really present when you're there in Kota Kinabalu compared to other parts of Malaysia, and you're very, very aware of that. So if you're not used to that, they do keep you awake all hours of the day.
The speakers everywhere reading out, I guess, passages from the Quran and stuff.
And call to
4
prayer.
in the morning, 6 in the morning, 8. Just you never get any headspace because there's always like
noise
loud
and,
speakers going on.
So that compared to anywhere else in Malaysia was really different.
It made it difficult to switch off.
Yes.
Next question: did you have a moment where you felt truly off the beaten path?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think when we definitely up by the river again, it has to be, because that's why we took that trip up there to Sandakan.
Our accommodation.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, accommodation fell off the beaten
Backwards.
path. It felt like something out of the hostel.
Even when we were driving, do you remember when we drove from the airport to Sandakan? It took 2 hours to get to that river.
Oh, I have another moment too, actually.
Mm.
When we went to one of the islands, when we did that little walk to Police Island or whatever it was,
Yeah, Police
Beach,
Navidad.
Police Beach, that was all like not kept anymore and just sort of run down, and
It
that
really
felt
was.
really off the beaten path.
It did.
We were even told not to go exploring. The guy who sells the boat trips, who tells you it's great for hiking and snorkeling, then when you buy it, he goes, right, don't go hiking, and you're like, what? But that felt off the beaten path. It really did.
It did, yeah.
What's a sensory memory you associate with Kota Kinabalu? Smell, sound, etc. I think we've mentioned sound from the mosques.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
smell everywhere in Malaysia, actually, because everything's an open sewer. So, and this isn't
Langkawi
just...
were really bad for that.
Langkawi is bad for it,
Oof.
Georgetown's bad for it, Kota Kinabalu is bad for it. It's
Yeah.
just wafty, warm
It just smells like
sewage
drains.
water.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
So probably
Open
not.
drains are not the way forward, to be
No.
honest. We're so used to sewer systems in England.
And probably not just Kota Kinabalu, but the whole of Malaysia, Dorian. Oh my God, I will
there's
not miss that
Dorian
smell.
everywhere.
It just stinks of it everywhere.
Were there any local rituals, traditions or performances that stood out to you? Let's think something different for this one. I think for me, just generally religion, because we seem to be hit by, it's the time of year we went, but we got Chinese New Year, then we got Ramadan, then we got
Tiapasam, the Hindu festival,
then we had
Ramadan,
Eid.
yeah, now
we had everything.
and Chinese Malay New Year as well.
And I think it's just one thing after another, so it makes the traffic a lot heavier, it makes the cost of taxis go higher, it makes getting food more difficult, everything just becomes...
Things just close down. It's a bit like the last day that we were in Kuala Lumpur on a Friday. They just closed the eco park, the eco forest park, and it was something to do with that. So it did make it quite challenging.
A little annoying thing for me, a local ritual, is when they don't open the hotel gyms until later on. So I went to go for a run in the morning, and they didn't open on 9 or 10 o'clock, and that was bloody annoying.
Yes.
But yeah, and other little things, not rituals and traditions what stood out, but tiny little supermarkets everywhere, 7-Elevens and those kind of things. They're just readily available wherever you are. You're never 2 minutes away from one.
No.
So if you want water, ice cream, a cup of soup, a pot noodle, whatever it is you want, it's there.
It's just there, isn't it?
And that's really yes. That's something that I really like. It reminded me of Thailand. Next question: what would you say was the spirit of Kota Kinabalu? From where we were, I felt like that little area we were, that sunset had something that embodied a spirit.
I would absolutely say the best sunset.
Some of the
out
best
all the
sunsets
places.
ever, which we're showing you now, were just absolutely just
so much so
out of this
that
world.
beach, which was about half a mile walk from us, is called Sunset Beach, and people go to that particular area just to see it. And again, people on an evening would take all the paddle boats out just to see
and
it.
the view from our balcony. So I know this isn't the spirit of Kota Kinabalu. I know it's all about going up the mountains and those kind of stuff, or going on the trails. But for me, it was that little bit.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the sunsets and sunrises. Just amazing.
Sabah beyond Kota Kinabalu.
What did exploring Sabah teach you about yourself? It taught me that
I like quiet.
taught me that I'm tiny in the scheme of...
Absolutely.
I mean, that mountain is absolutely huge, and...
Well, put it this way: when we were
huge.
flying back from Sandakan, the pilot actually came on the speaker and said, "Those people sat on the right side of the plane. If you take a look out of your window, you will see the top of Kota Kinabalu." And sure enough, we did. And it was literally the peak of the mountain above all the clouds.
Yeah.
I were in an aeroplane, so that should tell you how big it is.
And then beyond Kinabalu, when we drove out in the rental car to the hot springs and the other things, because that's out of Kinabalu,
Yes.
it taught me that don't believe the hype.
No.
You know, those hot springs were pants. Mind you, that garden stuff up there were really nice, wasn't it?
And everybody's a terrible driver.
Yeah.
In Malaysia, full stop.
Yeah.
They're terrible drivers. They're really slow and annoying.
Tell me
but
about
anyway.
myself is I'm actually not that bad. You know, I'm all right dealing with traffic and dealing with stuff at home. I thought I used to be, you know, it's taught me now about myself that England's not as bad as you think it is. So in Kinabalu, what did you eat that you'd never try at home?
What did we eat?
For me, it was on the first night when we got there.
God.
You're all a bit disoriented and you're tired, a bit grumpy, and you don't know what to expect. So we went out to this local restaurant and nobody spoke a word of English. So we pointed at things and ordering things. And actually, this is a Malayan thing, full stop. If you try and change your order or order more than one, it confuses people. So for example, you say, I'll have a coffee. And then Tara say, I'll have a coffee. So 2 coffees. So they say, 1 coffee? You go, no, 2 coffees. So you end up with 4 coffees.
Yeah.
And so we were ordering this dish, and then we changed our mind and said, oh no, forget them, we'll just have 3 of those.
She just didn't understand
so
what we
she
were
gave us
ordering.
3 of those on top of the 3 things we had. And he said, no, I don't want 3, I just want just 1 each. Then you just get 1.
Yeah, it's madness.
You don't
honestly.
get 1 each, you don't get 3. It's hard to explain.
So anyway, the place that we actually went to on that first night, when we were leaving to pay, Talia casually came over to us and went, Mum, there's a dead cat in that box over there.
Yeah, there was literally a dead cat, stiff as a board,
not covered up.
Near where they're preparing food. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something I'd never want to try at home. Dead cat.
Yeah.
Right. But now we're just going to move on to Kuala Lumpur. So Kuala Lumpur question. What was your favourite contrast between modern Kuala Lumpur and its older parts?
Oh, you see, I was fully expecting Kuala Lumpur to be exactly as it is. It's a big metropolitan city, so it's actually great. But when you go to Batu Caves, which I would consider an older part, is that what it is?
Well, it's ancient is the cave itself, but yeah.
I'm really drawn to that. The city's really pretty on its own, but yeah.
I think they've done well with it. So you've got like the old stadium opposite where we were staying. And then you've got some older parts of town, some older buildings. Then you've got these really new modern buildings, you know. And they've blended it really well. And there are some little colonial bits still left in there that we saw.
Yeah,
some Georgetown-esque buildings.
And there's a lot of greenery. There's a lot of greenery considering it's a big city. And that park.
Yeah, they've managed to get a really good blend between
they do.
hustle bustle of the city with moments of greenery in between. It works really
even though
well.
we only went to the botanical gardens, there's the bird garden and there's the butterfly gardens. So there's still plenty to see and do, and they are really contrasted considering they're right next door to each other.
How did the energy of Kuala Lumpur hit you when you arrived?
Do you know, I loved it.
Well, it slapped us in the face in busyness. I mean,
But we were used to it by then.
We were used to it.
It wasn't as bad as Georgetown.
But again, time of year and festivals and right bang, you know, when Eid started and things like that, just the traffic just got gridlocked. In the morning you were fine. In an afternoon it got busy, and on a night it turned psycho.
Yeah.
The energy's there though. I mean, the city life is definitely there. On a night when it all looks beautiful on a night, that's when you really feel
it's
it, I
just
think.
buzzing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's you really realise that that you're in this city with all these buildings and these tall buildings. You feel tiny and they're massive.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So it does have a great energy. I loved it. I really did enjoy it.
Describe a day in Kuala Lumpur that felt completely spontaneous. For me, it's the BT Tower thing. So we planned stuff because, you know, I like a good spreadsheet. So we knew what we're doing on most days, but we'd kind of moved some things around. So it left a free day, and then we just decided to wing the day. So we set off. We climbed up the big telecoms tower
called the Mandara Tower.
Yeah, and actually liked it more than the view in Petronas Towers.
Yes.
So even though Petronas Towers is your headline, this is underrated.
And a lot of people do say that. A lot of people say that the view from there. And for me personally, it's because when you actually get to the top, it's open. So you stand outside, and well, you felt more connected, didn't you, to the outside? So that was great.
That was my more spontaneous day, I think.
Don't be fooled though. They do have a rotating restaurant at the top, but you have to pay to actually go into the
You
restaurant.
have to have reservation and stuff. So
What's that all about?
But that's my spontaneity. The rest were planned. I mean,
You see,
obviously,
for
there's other
me,
days that
it was actually our first day. Ice cream van, because it's freezing outside. Yeah, the first day when we went to explore the city. So we kind of got a little bit floopy with it at first. We half planned it, half didn't plan it. So we went to the
market. So I asked Gemini just where's a good place to go
to explore,
and it dropped us in this place. And it's great for culture and all that stuff, but it didn't explain why. And when we got there, we're like, what have we done? But we kind of figured our way around then with Google Maps and other stuff. And we stumbled across all sorts of little stuff, didn't we? And found a random bar, which were nice.
Yeah, the Rasta bar.
Rasta bar, just to unwind in.
And we did that Kwe Tai Chi, I can't remember what it was called, but it was a lovely little quaint back
and that
street.
little market thing, Central Market, and so that would. Do you know
So
what?
that would definitely...
I'm changing my mind now. She's convinced me. That is the best spontaneous day. I'm stealing it. I'm having it. What's a hidden cafe, street stall, or neighbourhood gem you stumbled upon?
Do you know what? I think there's so many in Kuala Lumpur that they're on every street corner.
Do you know what? I'm going to give it to the little restaurant around the corner of our hotel because we were short on offerings near our hotel without going to the city centre. And, there were a few little things where, they're like a Thai place that was quite expensive and all this stuff. And hardly anywhere served alcohol to go with your meal and stuff like that. So we found this little random thing round the corner. We went to it. It's the one where they played Ghostbusters and we kind of all had spaghetti and stuff. But you know what? It was cheap.
And it tasted
the food was
great.
gorgeous.
Really good.
They made really good whiskey cocktails.
Yeah.
And it was that good. We went again. And then and when we were leaving on the first night, she gave us a little leaflet for their sister cafe, which did breakfast, which was a few doors down. So in the morning you could go there and have a croissant.
And they did do more traditional sort of breakfast items, but they made an effort to try and fit what we wanted as well, didn't they?
They did. So I'm going to give that to my hidden
I'll
cafe.
go with that.
There's probably far better places to eat, obviously, in Kuala Lumpur, but...
You see, for me, the hidden cafe was... there's got to be two. I'm going to go with two. So the Rasta Cafe for me, I wouldn't necessarily it's hidden or a gem that you stumbled upon, but definitely, gem. The Rasta Cafe, just because it had something different about it.
More of a bar, wasn't it, than a cafe? Just saying. Just putting it out there. But carry on. Wayward son.
I like the vibe in there. I like the fact that everybody, you could do a bit of art on the walls and things like that. And obviously that one.
Beef rotties.
Yeah, but that might
come
later.
if it don't, beef rotties all the way. Did you experience culture shock here compared to other stops? No, I think we'd had all the culture shocks we needed, really.
Yeah. It's not very westernised. You'd think it would be, but it's really not. Out of all the places, it was definitely Langkawi that was the most westernised.
Yeah, I mean, even like the malls and stuff are obviously westernised. The malls are pretty incredible. They're probably the biggest, poshest malls I've ever seen.
There's so many malls.
Dior, Gucci and all that kind of stuff.
So many.
It's really high end. It's almost Dubai style, isn't it, really? And
they'll just come and... So... culture shock compared to other stops. No, it didn't really have that culture shock. Not really. And
I think if you've just landed there, you've never been to Asian countries before, you might be a bit shocked. But if you've done Bangkok, if you've done Singapore,
if you've done cities before,
Kuala Lumpur, don't shock.
Asian cities, it's.
What's a sound you associate with KL?
Traffic,
call to prayer, or food sizzling. Call to prayer again.
Not really.
No, but it was.
Not really. It's not something I would associate with Kuala Lumpur.
Traffic.
But, traffic.
In our room, we could just hear traffic, sirens and traffic, whether the window were open, whether it were closed. Just traffic. Traffic. Just no peace.
You don't really hear anything else.
No. What was your most urban explorer moment? I think it's got to be the Petronas Towers. I know it's cliche, and I know.
But do you know what it
but
is?
You've not seen anything like that until you've been there. Have you?
I think going to Kuala Lumpur, probably Singapore did the same thing, but probably more so here. It makes me realise just how beautiful a city can be. You don't really associate beauty with a city like you do with mountains or a beach, but it's got something. It really does. So for me, it's just that. Those are the moments
Those
for me.
cityscapes in it. You
They're
look
just
out and
breathtaking.
because everyone's trying to compete to build the biggest and best building, and they really go all in.
As far as your eyes
the
can
architecture for modern buildings is really nice. And I know we've got a little bit in London. We've tried to do it with the
see. It's
Shard
when they
and some
light
other
them
bits,
all
but
up and they really go
yeah.
all out, don't they?
and it's consistently good.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, that bit's good, or the whole thing's good.
So and one of the best things for us, and I'm not usually a curtain kind of sleeping with curtains open kind of gal, but we had floor to ceiling glass windows in our bedroom, and we just slept with them open every night because it was just so beautiful to look at.
So urban explorer moment is nighttime city exploring, and
absolutely,
looking, gazing, light gazing.
Yeah.
How did you feel leaving Kuala Lumpur? Ready, nostalgic, or changed? I think I'll have a stab at this one. I think ready, definitely, because we've been away for 8 weeks, 7 weeks, or whatever. I think everyone's ready to go home at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I think changed as in, holidays like that do change you. You do appreciate things at home more, but you appreciate how lucky you are to go to these places.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of something you should take with you from trip to trip, wherever you go. It doesn't matter where you go. So I think, definitely ready because we were tired and we were a little bit missing our creature comforts.
Nostalgic simply because it was not just the end of Kuala Lumpur, it was the end of our trip.
Yeah.
So you're bound to just look at it and definitely changed.
No one wants to really go home. You do, but you don't.
Doing these kind of trips totally changes the way that you holiday, because you're not really holidaying, you're sort of travelling and it's different.
I'll miss not so much the hotel as such, but I'll miss being able to say go to the pool.
I'll miss the warmth.
I'll miss the warmth. I'll miss, even though it wasn't as cheap as the other places, it was still massively cheap, and I'll miss that.
Yeah.
We've come back and we've gone to Aldi today, and it's 120 quid on just some food for a week, which won't even last you a week. 120 quid there lasts you so long.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think, it's giving you an appreciation for things.
Definitely.
And our final question: if you could give one tip for a first-time visitor to Kuala Lumpur, what would it be? Don't drive, get grabs.
Oh God, don't mix up the MRT and the monorail.
Yeah.
Like we did, that was terrible.
Yeah, they're easy to understand once you get used to them. But yeah, we thought you could jump on one and then off the monorail, then on the MRT. But you have to leave the monorail and walk to the MRT and do it differently. But the maps make it look like the London Underground.
Yeah.
So it looks like you can just do it. That was a thing. But yeah, my first time visit just would be just grab it everywhere, because even though the traffic is busy, you grab drivers now at a shift when they need to.
Yeah.
They'll push in, they'll shove, they'll go in wrong lanes, they'll do what it takes to get you there quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my tip. So as a final summary now, because we've answered all the questions, just looking back at some of the highlights, just taking it from the top. Georgetown was a bit of a shock, but I grew to love it. I did grow to love it.
Yeah.
I see why people move there. I see why Brits would go and live there.
I think
because
it's got a bit of everything, hasn't it?
it
A
does
lot
have
of everything.
You've got your city, you've got your smaller, quiet
You've even
beach.
got beach.
You've even got beach. You've got
Food.
temples, and you've got more food than you know.
There's more culture packed into that city than I think any other place I've ever been.
I'm more of a Chiang Mai, Thailand guy. However, you could not get bored in Georgetown.
No.
There's literally something to do all the time.
It's an attack on all your senses, or an assault on all your senses every day.
And then flying them from Langkawi, well, obviously, as you can tell, we've got a soft spot for Langkawi. I would go back there. I would spend longer there. I would chill out there more. I'll never get over the cost of it. It's so cheap. I mean,
and if
food,
I had to give a
drink,
tip to somebody
everything.
who was going to Langkawi for the first time, get a moped.
Yeah.
It will get you around the island in a breath.
Get a car as well. It's cheap as chips.
It's just so cheap. To tank a moped was 80 pence.
To tank a car was £7.
It's madness, isn't it? So yes, don't be afraid to drive. It's just like it is in England, and it's worth it. It don't cost anything. You can park anywhere. It just works. So yeah, don't be afraid to do that.
And then moving on to Koh Kinabalu, I'd say don't spend as long as we did there. We were too long in that place. I would go for say 5 days, go on the river trip for a couple of days, nip to the town centre, check out a few malls, do a couple of the boat trips to the islands, do some snorkeling, and then get out of there.
Go with, it's not even about your expectations. I think people have got a really clear picture of what they think Borneo's like. I would scrap anything that you think you know about Borneo and go with a really open mind.
Yeah.
'Cause it's not like you think it is.
And then lastly at Kuala Lumpur, we had a week there and there was so much to do. That water park was an absolute hidden gem.
Absolutely.
Just crazy, just off the charts. Really good
I'm so glad
value.
we went. It was really good value. There was so much to do.
So good.
And that monkey experience was just the best thing ever, wasn't it?
And then when you want your bit of Western comforts, you've got your Irish bars, you've got little restaurants that, you've got all that stuff as well. There were food courts everywhere as well and street foods. We didn't do that in Kuala Lumpur because we'd done so much of it in Georgetown and Langkawi and stuff that we didn't need to seek it out. But yeah, an amazing trip, an amazing time.
I feel like we've really explored Malaysia. Probably more than any other country we've ever explored for this amount of time. So I feel like I've got very well acquainted with it. Will we be back? I'm not sure. Maybe different parts of Malaysia, maybe.
I think there's other places to see. I wouldn't go back there, like now or even next year. I would go back after I'd seen my other places when you tick off like Vietnam,
I think
Cambodia.
there's still plenty of places in Southeast Asia in particular that we want to go to.
Yeah, but I would say if you've done those other places and you're looking for something similar but different, then Malaysia's your place.
Definitely.
We absolutely bossed it. We smashed it.
And the next time you'll probably see these faces, unfortunately for you, is sometime around September. That's when we next go away. Not for as long, but that's when we'll be back. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
Yeah.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Hope this summer don't suck. See you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.